Hey VC, it's Steve Whitty here. Video sort of came to me last few days. Primarily on Thursday, I was out at one of these music soirees I go to, when the news broke that Pete Shelley had passed away, and I think it put a bit downer on everything, and it got me thinking a little bit. To be honest, Thursday was a bit of a rubbish day for me. For numerous reasons, and this sort of like was the icing on top of the cake. So I hope everyone's doing well. Actually, I forgot to mention that. I hadn't been planning to do a video really for the rest of the year. I just I haven't been feeling really inclined to wanting to do one, to be honest, and I haven't watched any in I'd say at least a week and a half. But I thought I'd just post this up. It got me reflecting on sort of music that I've been listening to recently, but I was listening to primarily in my teens. A lot of it's mainly new wave based. This was a big influence on my musical taste. It was probably what formed. Then I went on to like the hard rock, metal, the classic rock, moving on to reggae and all the other. But it sort of hit home because I suppose it's the genre of music that sort of resonates with me, that period. So here goes. So I'll show you off my Buzzcocks. Another music in a different kitchen. Their debut for United Artists, and then the Imperious Love Bites, which features Ever Falling in Love. And when I saw Pete Shelley, saw the Buzzcocks, perform that on Top of the Pops, what struck me was the songs, and what struck me is how ordinary they looked. The punk was all about the hair, and the image, I suppose the safety pins, the trousers, the torn t-shirts, everything associated with it. And they just looked so ordinary. It looked very northern. And then, if you haven't got a Buzzcocks record, this is the one to go for. Singles go instead. It's just a classic comp. I think about the Buzzcocks, it wouldn't be indie as such, because the Spiral Scratch EP was self-financed. Really, the birth of modern indie as well. Do it yourself. They organised the gig at the Manchester gig, which Sex Pistols played, and they supported in order to get a gig, but to get the Sex Pistols up. And from those people that were in the audience, came from Joy Division, the Smiths, the Four. Manchester scene as we know it would never have materialised. So I think the Buzzcocks were a big influence, a huge influence. And Pete Shelley went on to his solo work in the 80s. But as purveyors of the perfect pop song, and I think Pete Shelley nailed it on that point. So I'm going to move on from the sort of like the Buzzcocks, and just show you some of the stuff I was listening to around that time, which I've managed to get hold of. As I say, it's mainly the punk new wave thing. But one group that sort of didn't fall into that, 9 Below Zero, they were sort of like a faster version of Dr. Feelgood, very R&B based, and probably you got Dennis Greaves on guitar, but probably Mark Felton, the cartoon, the hat. I'll show you the band at the back. Legendary harmonica players, done a lot of sessions. Absolutely nailed it. It's a great album. It's worth checking out. 3 times enough. There's so much energy in that song. It's a good. It's a band I just used to love. They're still going, I believe. Another band, Bauhaus. This album's the singles 1981, 1983. I wouldn't call it an album, it's a 12-inch single, to be quite honest. And this is really showing off the tracks where they became singles. So you haven't got Bela Lugosi's Dead's not on here, nor their version of Telegram Sam, but it has got Ziggy Stardust and I never pronounce it, Lajitricha Nick, and She's in Parties. And then they pretty much split up after that, though they do get back together spasmodically. From Birmingham, I finally got hold of this album. I just can't stop it. This was an album, records of the band I listened to a lot to. You got the whole two-tone period at the time as well. Yeah, I was pleased to have that. You got Mirror in the Bathroom, Best Friend, Wine and Grind, Stand Down Margaret. It only cost me £5, but that's because somebody took a chunk out the sleeve there. Hands Off, She's Mine. This was on their own Go Feet label. They had their version of Tears of a Clown on two-tone and were signed up by Arista, who, as part of the deal, gave them their own record label. Excuse me. Obviously, as a teenager, The Clash were featured highly. I managed recently to get hold of a copy of the Story of The Clash double album, sort of best stuff that came out in 1988. It's got pretty much everything standard that they released on there, and it's a really good starting point. Probably of all the comps, I would say this is the best one to get hold of. And then going on the punk side, you had The Damned. This is their debut album. This is an album released on Stiff, and I think this is an original Stiff recording, Stiff issue. And yeah, New Rose, their version of Feel Alright, Feel the Pain, neat, just really the energy. Nick Note, really when he produced it, nailed it, I thought. And Stiff, today's sound today. It's one of the things they used to call. And then going on The Damned, I suppose this is the youngest record I'm going to show today. They sort of went in a more gothier vein, and Phantasmagoria from 1985, where you got Shadow of Love, Is It a Dream, Grimly Fiendish on here. So pleased to get hold of that and have a listen to that. One of the I've mentioned about bands that sort of were the missing link between rock and punk. I've mentioned in my best British bands, Mott the Hoopers being the most obvious example. And another example, I managed to find another album by this band, Doctors of Madness. This is their debut album, Late Night Movies, All Night Brainstorms. And yes, this, I can best describe it. It's the electric violin, that's, or the violino, that Urban Blitz played. I can't remember which one who it is, but just absolutely, really, it's an amazing album. Actually, it's worth checking them out. I know that all their albums were issued out in the CD box set, so Doctor's Madness well worth checking out. And was listening to, got hold of this for £1 recently because the cover's a bit beat, but record plays well. It's Jam or Mod Cons, and just bear with me. Talking the Jam, their debut in the city. So yeah, and this was a mid-price reissue, though I think the cover itself is actually an original. They just put a mid-price sticker on it. Yeah, just another album, bristling full of energy. I think that's the thing I got from that punk new wave era at that time, is when now listening to it, it's just how full of energy the music was. But not everything I listened to was punk new wave. I've recently got hold of some Graham Parker records. This is his debut, Howling Wind, and then his follow up, Heat Treatment, and then Squeezing Out the Sparks. So some really good albums. Described as a bit of an angry man, Graham Parker, but really worth. I was really pleased to find those and then listen to those. And then probably one of the biggest influences was the Ramones. Now this is Road to Ruin. This copy I've got is it's an original, and this has come out in yellow vinyl. I'm not one for the coloured vinyls, but I didn't realise it was on yellow until after I brought it, to be honest. This is the first album to feature Mark on drums. And it's got I Want to Be Sedated on it. You don't come close. Yeah, Tommy actually produced the album. And likewise, he produced this, Ramones, It's Alive. This is a recording at New Year's Eve at the Rainbow Theatre in London, 1977. So it's over 40 years old, the recording. And it's just absolutely just a barrage of guitars and songs and 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just absolutely, it's a pile driver of a live album. I don't think he just makes an hour, I think. And it's just a great live album. Again, I'll have another slurp. Singles wise, this is probably one of my favourite. This falls into one of my top 10 tracks of all time. The Ruts in a Rut. This is not my original copy. I've managed to find another copy for £1, but it's just I always play it to death on my iPod or whatever. So I'm really pleased to have that. I remember when I did originally buy it, it was all Peel played it a lot, and I was just sort of so desperate to get it, and I found it in my local market in Sutton Coldfield at a little record shop at that time. Did badges and all the badges, and it was everything. Did a few records, and he had that, and I just had to buy it. Saints, I'm Stranding, from Punk New Wave, Australian style. Just a classic album of that period. Just right, but unfortunately, I think image-wise didn't sort of suit them. But it's up there with any album of that period. So yeah, pleased to have that. And I know I've got a couple more Saints albums got to get hold of. Obviously, when I mentioned about Buzzcocks, one of the gigs they set up was the Sex Pistols. They set up a gig with the Sex Pistols in Manchester. So I have been listening to a fair bit of Sex Pistols recently. Managed to get hold of a copy of Anarchy in the UK, the EMI single. And backed by Wanna Be Me. When this just hit the top 40, when they appeared on the Bill Grundy, the Tonight Show, the infamous Bill Grundy interview, and basically it all kicked off, and basically what happened. The workers at the pressing at EMI, I believe, said we weren't going to press anymore. This will go on strike, so literally had to kick them off the label, and that's it. The record stalled. Doesn't mean that they are rare to find. I mean, I was looking to find this for a couple of quid. Let me have this for a couple of quid. But yeah, it's sort of different times. It's I think people were generally shocked by the language that was used. You weren't exposed to it then as we are now, I suppose. We're not so shocked by profane language. Also, I've got a copy of that, God Save the Queen. I think I've mentioned that Pete, when he opened his shop, bought himself a copy on A&M, which he sold pretty much, got his money back. You're talking 5 figures. Be fair to say, when he told me that the person who bought it off him, he's well minted. Put it this way, he's got a buyer that goes out and buys his records for him. That's living the life. This is just the Virgin reissue. It's awesome. Wanted one of those, and then managed to get hold of a copy of the said album. Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. This is a reissue because it's got the track listing on the back. The original, it would be just black. It'd be just plain pink. It's just one of the great albums of all time, and I think they do hold their place in this album. It ensures their place in rock history, I think. Had to make a great album in a way, just then sort of go away afterwards. It all went pear-shaped, and whether in hindsight doing the film was a good idea. It's not a bad album. There's some good bits on it. There's some bits that you think could do without. And I won't show you the cover because it's I think you know the inside of the cover. But I'm pleased to find that this is again a reissue. I think the original, if I remember right, they had the track listing all in the wrong order or something like that. Band that I really liked at that period, and I again found this album recently, Skids. Yeah, this is their third album, Absolute Game, released in 1980. It's produced by Mick Glossop, and you've got here Circus Games, A Woman in Winter, Out of Town, Hurry On Boys. I think the problem is that they never quite... Scared to Dance, and they had the big single Into the Valley, and they just on the outer reach of the charts. And I think they did do another album afterwards. I can't remember what it was called. I'm not sure whether Stuart Adamson left pretty much after this album, but yeah, I'm pleased I've got that. And then we've got Undertones, another band of that period, and I recently got a copy of Hypnotised, the second album. This is but this is a Portuguese edition. My Perfect Cousin, Wednesday Week. You've got more songs about chocolate and girls. Their take of Under the Boardwalk. It's just again another great album. I'm really pleased to get hold of that. So that's a great album. And then the final album I'm going to show in the batch, and again I was pleased to find this. This was only a couple of quid, and it hasn't got the free single in it, and I'm not too upset about. This is Drums and Wires by XTC, Making Plans for Nigel on here. Day In, Day Out, Helicopter. Yeah, you know, if you know XTC, you know the album. So really pleased to find that. It is a slight warp in it, but it is playable. But yeah, so pleased to find that for a couple of quid. Yeah. So in a sense, I've been listening to a lot prior to what's happened to Pete Shelley, and brought a lot to what again I was listening to as a teenager. And I suppose that's the one thing about life, isn't it? It's the one certainty about life is that we are gonna leave this mortal coil. But on a cheery note, I'm gonna end this video on a mortal note. I think the thing we've got to remember is we've got the great music in the end. So while it's sad to Pete Shelley. I mean, the guy I work with, he saw the Buzzcocks 17 times. across 5 decades. That means he saw them in the 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, and call it the tweenies, that teenies, don't we? So, there's not many bands that people could say they could do that with, as I say, you've got the music, so that's great. If you stumbled across the channel for the first time and you like what you see, click on the subscribe button. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Love the interaction. Feel free to leave a comments. I'll always get back to you. So until the next video, VC, take care of yourselves, keep spinning, more importantly, keep smiling.